I am also on the ballot, so technically I am a candidate here. I am not going to take the time to do any kind of debate relative to my own candidacy. However, if you have any questions relative to my office of moderator, please feel free to ask. All right, so we have a lot of candidates here tonight. We have a lot of constituents. I have to say that this is the best turnout in my, I don't even know, 10, 15 years doing this. So I think this is excellent. I'm very excited to see former students in the audience, and that always makes me happy to see everybody joining into this process. The way that our system works is how we will begin is everybody from my right-hand side to my left-hand side will go through and give an opening introduction, talk about who they are, what the position is that they are running for, and why they're choosing to run at this point. Beyond that, once we've gone through, and that is timed, and it is 2 minutes per person, and I will time that. Beyond that, we will ask questions of the various candidates. If it's for a specific race, we will isolate to those groups of candidates, and we will rotate. So if there are questions for the selectmen, we will go through in a particular order, and then we will rotate at a different order. That way no one has the benefit or misfortune, however that might be, to always be either first or last or somewhere in that rotation. Does anybody have any questions about the format? Okay, so beyond that, I will suggest many of you have been at town meeting and are aware of our typical guidelines. There are some procedure type things that I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of, because we don't print those guidelines for candidates night. But when we are discussing issues, we do not use personal attacks, we do not name call, we keep our comments relative to the issues, and we try to avoid redundancy. With this many candidates and this many people here, it will take us some time to get through, so please make sure you are listening to other questions and comments and answers so that we don't have any redundancy. Like I normally say, it is a school night. We do need to be cognizant of that. All right? So we'll get started. We are going to start to my far right with Susan McGuire-Doyle. And I'm going to set my timer. I will give you a 10-second warning. And like I said, it will be a 2-minute time. Questions? Yes, absolutely. Any other questions before we get started? Okay. So we will wait until those chairs are out. Oh, and I will mention that we do have a handful of candidates that are not here, some of which have given me statements to read. So I will read those statements in their place. Jay, are we good? Is that it? All right, thank you. So again, we're going to start to my far right with Susan McGuire Doyle. The first 7 candidates are going to be for selectmen, and then we will move on to the other various races. So Susan, when you are ready.
Good evening. My name is Susan McGuire Doyle, and my husband and I, David Doyle, who's down the other end of the table there, moved up here a few years ago and had a house built, but I've been coming up here for a long time, since the 70s. I worked with Camp Calumet Lutheran over in Freedom, New Hampshire as a nurse. I also have worked at General Electric as a radiographic tech. I am a registered nurse, an ICU nurse, a NICU nurse, retired now. That's why we moved up here from Georgetown, Massachusetts. And I'm also a retired firefighter and paramedic. I worked on Salisbury Fire Department as a full-time firefighter, and I'm retiring also from there. My husband has retired from there too. So with my background in public service, and my main reason for wanting to run for a selectman is, with my background in public service, is to work as a team player, because in my experience as a nurse and firefighter, everybody works together well. This town, we're very lucky. The employees here in Ossipee is a well group of employees, manager. Everybody seems to work together well. It's good to have a relationship with shared missions and goals. And as selectmen, you need to have a full understanding of the responsibility of the position. But my biggest thing is you need to know your limitations, to use your team players, to work together to have those missions to accomplish the same thing in the end.
10 seconds.
Excuse me?
10 seconds.
Oh, just, okay. So, basically, I'm also working for the fire department now as administrative secretary, and I'm on the budget committee. So I have seen some of the goals and struggles the town is dealing with, and I'd like to give a fresh perspective to the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Next up, we have J. Scott Murphy.
Good evening. My name is Jay Murphy. I reside in West Ossipee, and I'm running for the 3-year term as selectman. I've had a connection to the town of Ossipee my entire life. My grandparents built the camp on Ossipee Lake in the 50s. I spent summers on the lake with them. In the fall and winter months, we would enjoy hunting, snowmobile, and ice fishing. I have special memories of the time I spent on the lake that will last forever. Most of my immediate family resides in the area now. For the better part of 25 years, I worked in public service for 3 out of the 10 counties in the state. It was during my tenure that I developed the skills and knowledge that propelled me through the challenging but rewarding career. I hold an associate's degree in criminal justice and will soon complete my bachelor's degree requirements in criminal justice administration. I will also be completing OSHA certified coursework in areas related to occupational health and safety. During my professional career, I worked in areas of management, supervision, and leadership. I am a graduate of this state's Police Academy and County Corrections Academy. Some of the post-secondary education and training I received is as follows: managing organizational change, management and supervision, critical incident management, developing law enforcement managers, first-line supervisor, operational planning, internal affairs investigations, background investigations, progressive discipline process, criminal law, civil law, and constitutional law, and much more. I have experience working with budgets, human resources, policies and procedures, and other government functions related to the position I seek to fill. I'm confident that my education, training, and experience provide me with the necessary skills to serve as a selectman. I can assure you, I have no personal agenda. I hold no hostility towards any citizen in town, no town employee or board member. Consider me as a neutral, detached party. For many candidates here, I'm not going to make it. I don't get involved in cliques, rumor mills, social media groups, or other activities that I perceive to be counterproductive. I took a few years off to decompress from a challenging career. I'm now looking to serve the community in a capacity that fits my abilities, skills, knowledge, and desires. I enjoy working on projects of all levels and have worked with problem-solving groups in the past.
Thank you.
Add some more.
There'll be much more time during questions. Thank you. Jonathan Smith.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Smith. I put out about 100 of these. You should have them in your in your seat chairs or to the audience in the rear. Just follow along as I read here. I've served as your Ossipee selectman for the past 4 years. Upon my initial election, I approached the role with an open heart and mind. However, it became apparent that the town's operation were entrenched in the mentality of this is how we've always done it, which wasn't necessarily in the best interest of all residents. Every decision I've made has prioritized the well-being of all, not the interest of few. Recently, the town underwent a court-ordered state-mandated property revaluation beyond the control of the selectmen. This reevaluation led to both increased and decreased tax bills, aligning with market value as mandated by the law. I'm proud to report that our town's financial health is the best it's ever been. Over the past 3 years, we haven't had to resort to borrowing money from banks to cover expenses, a significant accomplishment considering past practices. Our financial audit underscores the town's robust financial condition, emphasizing that public funds are sacred and must be managed diligently. As a selectman, we are bound by state law, ensuring fair treatment for all. We're not rulers, but public servants, obligated to uphold the law. This includes tasks such as tax collection, granting property tax exemptions to eligible individuals, and prohibiting the misuse of public funds for private gain. Furthermore, it's our duty to enforce zoning ordinances, which I like to refer to as the people's ordinance. For years, property owners have suffered from environmental and health hazards in their communities, depreciating property values and endangering public safety. We're actively addressing these issues to remedy past neglect. If re-elected, I am committed to furthering collaboration with nonprofit organizations like Friends of Constitution Park and Friends of Ossipee Rail Trail to enrich outdoor activities and foster economic activity for all.
10 seconds.
Being a selectman is not merely about attending meetings. It's a daily commitment driven by passion and the gratification of serving our community. I hold the privilege of serving this great town dear to my heart, and I aim to continue this dedication into the future. Furthermore, I reaffirm my pledge to uphold the law, manage taxpayer funds responsibly, and uphold principles of fairness for all. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Roy Baker.
Start.
Yes.
I'm Roy Barron. Good deal, you out here know who I am. I've been on the planning board for 17 years, I think, if I count right. My last meeting will be next Tuesday. I'm on the ZBA, been there, I believe, 7 years this year. And on boards like that, you gotta make decisions. Somebody's gonna win, somebody's gonna lose. I probably made a few of you will upset my decisions with the rest of the board. But law is the law, and I always try to go with the law, what the rules are. A gray area, I go to the person that came before the board. I'm running for selectman because I think I got a lot to offer the town. I think our schools are a priority, school boards and stuff. I don't think our kids are getting the proper education. Taxes are out of selectmen's control, but I think maybe the towns can kind of bundle up and maybe petition the state to try to get the laws a little bit more fair, and like some other states have changed their laws so more fair to people, because I don't know about anybody else, but I certainly can't afford to retire anymore. Whether anybody likes me or not, they always know I don't lie to them, I tell the truth, and everybody gets treated fair, they like me or not. It don't make any difference. Everybody's equal, we serve the people. Thank you.
Thank you. That's our first one that beat the time.
I like to keep it short and sweet. Get to the point, you know.
All right. And next on the list, Mr. Joe Deegan.
How are you doing? So this is totally off the cuff. I didn't write anything, prepare it, but the thing that comes to mind, so I did have to write something for the newspaper, and you'll see that when it gets printed. So the thing that I focused on is that I often see that sometimes when people come to the town, they don't get a great experience. I have a audiovisual business which deals with corporations, set up meetings, live events, things that must happen, things that are critical. Dealing with tons of personalities from, as far as individuals, as well as dealing with nonprofits, going to major corporations. So you have to be able to deal with different types of people, know where they're coming from, understanding that aspect from where they're coming from. That's a big point that I think would be important for here. This town used to be booming. If anybody knows the history of this town, there was everything going on here, and that's been lost. I was part of the Economic Development Commission for about 3 years, and we're seeing some businesses come back, and it would be great to see more. With the help of the town, the help of everybody around the town. Being here for 33 years, I've also been on the Center Ossipee Fire Department, served that. I'm still on that. Currently, I serve as chairman of the precinct fire commissioners for the Center Ossipee Fire Precinct. Been chairman of that for 5 years. Let's see. What gives me a look into the selectmen's side of things is that the fire commissioners work under the same laws, everything as selectmen do. The other quick little thing, I'd love to look at building the foundation of this town back up again. There's a lot of little things that have been forgotten and just need to be updated, brought up to date, and I'm trying to keep it under the time. So thank you. Appreciate you listening.
Thanks, Joe. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands there will be question and answer time. There will be a comment section at the end. So please, while these guys, I'm already throwing them off by saying 10 seconds. Comments from the audience while these guys are speaking, we can't do that because they've got a set amount of time and we need to respect that time. George, if you're going to participate, you need to follow the rules of the forum.
You know, in school.
We are.
So
All right.
You're going by what, martial rules?
George, I'm not, I'll wait, but I'm not going to have our candidates disrespected.
Oh, apparently we're missing it.
If we have any more outbursts to the candidates, I will pause your time until it's candid. I do need the audience to be quiet so we can move on to hear the speeches of these candidates that have worked so hard to be here. All right, moving on. Dallas, Emery, you are up. 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dallas Emery. I'm running for selectman, and mostly I'm running because I was asked by a lot of people, to the point where some of them were even begging me. I didn't really think that it was something that, I might not even, I don't have the accolades of all of these people at this table. I do know a lot about what's going on in town. I go to all the meetings. I'm on the zoning board. I'm on the budget committee. I've been the water and sewer commissioner. I've gotten involved with everything in the town. I signed up again for zoning board because nobody signed up. The problem is nobody gets involved. I'm getting involved. I'm here to put my name out there and, at least make an effort. And I would gladly have anybody in this room stand up and do the same thing. I would like to see that. I'm probably not going to use all my 2 minutes because I don't have a lot to say about why I'm running. I think the town is great the way it is. And there's not much that we really need to change. I believe Jonathan has done a great job with the finances. The finances are great in this town. But, other than, being asked to do this, my life is fine. But I would gladly accept your vote if you would like me to do that. I'm also running for zoning board. If you don't want to see me as a selectman, maybe you could put me back on that board. I'm fine with either one.
Thanks, Dallas. All right, moving on to Mr. Brian Keys.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to introduce myself. For those who don't know, my name is Brian Keys. I'm 43 years old. I live right up on Ossipee Mountain Road. I've lived there the last 20 years. My family and ancestors are from this town, and we date back 200 years. My wife, Dawn, is the school nurse for Ossipee Central School, and we're raising our 3 kids, Brody, Tyler, and Grace, 15, 13, and 12. Brody's not here, he's at driver's ed, which is way more alarming than anything. Never gonna make this whole thing, but I can tell you, I'm running for selectman because I believe in selfless service to others. I've been a professional firefighter for the city of Laconia. I operate as a lieutenant out of there. I've wrote municipal grants for the city. I've worked for good and bad leaders over there. And here at home, I serve on the town's budget committee as well as your deputy treasurer. Across the street, I serve on the parent rep for the administrative staff's core values team. I also serve on the committee for the Schools Out program, which is one of our town's invaluable after-school programs that serves young families, and quite frankly, I am running to represent young families. Out of the 4,800 residents, there's about 1,100 ages 35 to 55. To be a selectman, it's a lot of work. I'm not void of outside responsibilities. I want to make it clear. My wife, Dawn, and my 3 kids are my first priority. For those that know her, she's certainly better than I deserve. And I want to quote Dave Ramsey, who's a personal finance expert. He says this: servant leadership is the only leadership that ultimately works. Servant leadership is a style based on the idea that leaders prioritize serving the greater good. Leaders will serve with a style where they put their team and organization first. They do not prioritize their own objectives.
10 seconds.
I've built my work ethic around this, and in closing, if you were born and raised here in Ossipee, then you're very lucky. If you moved here from somewhere else, you're smart. So I look forward to serving you. But we're surrounded by competent people, and I look forward to hearing what they have to say to the answers. Thank you.
All right, our next candidate that we have here is Mr. Connie Billings.
Thank you very much for all you people that came. I see a lot of old friends and new ones. I've been a trustee of trust funds for quite a few years. When I first became one, I looked at, we had about 30, 35 accounts at the time, and I said to Stephanie, who was with me on the board, what's this mean? So I went back and researched each and every capital reserve. I worked with the 3 fire chiefs and commissioners from the 3 precincts and the old town manager. And I have a history of each and every vote that you people made, and what the purpose of that particular capital reserve was for. I wish to continue. You people think that I've done a good job. Thank you very much. And I hope you all turn out for voting night and town meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. All right, next up we have Tracy Fernandez.
Hi everybody, I'm a new face here in Ossipee. My name is Tracy Fernandez. We're new to West Ossipee. We moved here in COVID 2020. I'm here with my husband and 2 daughters. We're originally from Massachusetts, but we were a full-time RV family for 4 years. We got to see a lot of the country and do cool things. We wanted to move to West Ossipee because it's just beautiful up here, and we wanted to escape the city life. A little bit about me professionally. I'm an accountant. I have my MBA in accounting. I'm running for the trustee of trust funds. I've done nonprofit accounting for many years and have handled trust funds. I'm a certified nonprofit accountant as well. The reason why I wanted to apply was because wanted to give back to the community that we've fallen in love with, and I thought I could bring a fresh new face. I've had clean audits for years and years and years, and I just thought I could really get involved. Short and sweet.
Thank you so much. So next up, we have Carl Tyler.
Do I get 4 minutes because I'm doing
Well,
2 seconds?
it's funny because
Don't worry, I don't need
a
2
few
minutes.
people here are running for more than one office, so they're gonna get another 2 minutes, but Carl happens to be, his races are right next to each other, and the other candidate's not here, so he does actually get 2 minutes, and then following by 2 minutes.
I actually don't need 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm running unopposed, so I could have done something else this evening. Instead. I would actually agree with Dallas, who I have to say it's the first time I've ever seen him without a hat on, which is But the reason why I'm running these positions is because nobody else is. People like to bitch on Facebook, but very few people actually participate. So it's great to see so many people actually here tonight, because you guys are participating. And I know there are some people watching and they're participating, but there's no point in complaining on Facebook. You need to get to meetings, you need to complain in person. So the reason why I first ran for supervisor of the checklist is because of all the talk of election integrity and fraud and all those things. So I wanted to see firsthand how the process works. And having seen that up close, we run a pretty efficient system here, and I would trust it. I know there's a warrant article number 40 that's talking about getting rid of voting machines. All I would say to that is that a lot of misinformation has been spread about the machines, about the integrity of the machines, but also about the cost of the machines and the cost to count things. People think that we can count things in one night here the way they can in other countries. Other countries are different. They vote on one thing, because their democracy is not as great as ours. In this town, you're going to be voting on over 20 different things, and I think 40 different warrant articles. If you go to another country where they count a vote overnight, they voted for one person for one position. They don't get to vote on budget. They don't get to vote where their school money goes. They vote for one person, and that person then decides where things go. The reason why machines are so efficient at doing this, and it's been studied in New Hampshire, other states, they make less errors than human beings, is because that's what machines do. They just do repetitive tasks. They don't get tired, they don't get bored, they just do it over and over again. So I will say Article 40 you should not vote for. For the library, I would say you should vote for Article 31 so that they get a new heating system. And I would say you should vote for Lisa and myself because there's 2 positions. They're open. And hopefully this year my name comes first, so I'll get more votes than Lisa did. Last time, even though there was 2 positions, she still managed to get more votes. But I would like to thank you for coming and taking part, because this is a democracy, and you guys do vote, and that is what makes the difference in this town and every other town in America. So I'd like to thank you, and you can vote for me if you want. You don't have to. It's not going to really alter the outcome of the election for me, but I'll appreciate you voting if you give me that. Thank you.
And I will say he used 3 of the 4 minutes.
Oh, did I? No.
He did. All right, so Carl is on the ballot twice, the library trustee, then supervisor of the checklist. The next one is for Budget Committee member Crystal Eldridge. And I have a statement here written by Crystal. It says, "Good evening. My name is Crystal Eldridge. I was born and raised in Center Ossipee. I now live with my wife, 2 children, and my dog Remy in the house next to where I grew up. I love to hunt, fish, and go camping. Spending time with my family and being able to enjoy the beauty of where I live reminds me of how incredibly lucky I am. I have served my town in many ways over the past 5 years. I am currently serving on the Conservation Commission as the chairperson. I am the chairperson of the Cemetery Trustees. I am also on the Planning Board and the Budget Committee. I am hoping for your vote to remain on the Budget Committee for another term. Thank you for your consideration." So that is from Crystal Eldridge for Budget Committee. Moving on to Catherine Alexander for Budget Committee.
Hi, my name is Catherine Alexander. Kate is probably what you know me by. 7 Moultonville Road in Center Ossipee here. The positions are both Budget Committee and the Planning Board. And I will reiterate what others had said. You see spaces that are open and you don't see people running for them. And it concerns you, you know. We need to have a mixture of the old faces, which have history and knowledge, but we also need new faces. So there's room for everyone to participate. And I hope y'all don't get sick of hearing this, but yes, please, you know, get involved. It is not intimidating, and you'll find there's wonderful people you'll meet, and you'll probably make some great friends as well. Why? So I just moved here about a year ago, and so I'm in love with the place. And I just love the views every day. It's just wonderful. And I get to call this home, and I send lots of pictures to friends in the city and make them drool with envy. So, and I enjoy doing that so much. This is my sunset. How's yours in Manchester? So, but I do love it. And I just would love to see the character that makes Ossipee stay. Even if we change, even if we grow, there's something about people that I've met here. You really won my heart. There's an earnestness to people. They work sometimes 1, 2, 3 jobs, and they're so I don't know. There's some sort of earthiness that I enjoy, and some of you have taken me in, and I so appreciate that you've taken me under your wing. And my background is in, well, it's ministry and education and social services. I came here to open up a business, but it just didn't seem destined. So I went back to school because there's a dire need for healthcare. So I decided I would provide a need. And I don't know, you'll see me for zoning, the Budget Committee and the Planning Board. I just want to do the best that I can for the town. Again, I want the charm of Ossipee to stay. And I think that's something you can't just hope it stays. You really have to fight for it. And so it's an active fight. Otherwise, people with their own ideas and agendas come in. So I intend to fight for that. I intend to fight for the community, the people that live here year-round, those that come up in the summer and want to, you know, enjoy it. We're happy that you do that and spend your money here. So I hope I can just do the best job that I can for you, and you'll be very happy at the end of my term.
All right, thank you. And that was, again, a 4-minute, because Kate is on for the Budget Committee and for Planning Board. Connie, do you want to speak again relative specifically to the Planning Board?
Yesterday I was on it before. I've been off it a while, and I enjoyed it. I'd like to just get back on it and catch up on all the things that you people are going to vote on and election.
Dallas, do you want to speak specifically to the zoning board?
I'm on the zoning board now, and like I said, nobody signed up for it. I think the zoning board is very important for a lot of things that come in, especially for the planning board. There's a lot of non-conforming lots in this town that really need attention, and there's a few arguments here and there. So, zoning board, I think that it's a very important position. And I saw that nobody had signed up for it the same day that I was signing up for selectmen, so I put my name in. And that's why I said, if you don't want me to be your selectman, at least let me be your zoning officer.
And moving on to Mr. David Doyle.
Hi, my name is David Doyle. I moved here about 3 years ago now. I come from a long line of public servants. I'm actually a 4th generation firefighter. I recently retired about a year ago from my full-time job as a firefighter, which I did for 33 I've always felt the need to help people. Be a public servant, be out there to feel the community grow and prosper. I've never ran for any offices. I've always felt that maybe I should help, do a little more. Recently, when I was at Town Hall, I saw that there was an opening for positions, and I said, what a way to start. Something new, I can do something to help the community. Maybe jumped in both feet, not know what I'm doing, but I feel that with my knowledge, my experience as a shift commander for the last 12 years, I was responsible for inspections, code enforcement, so I have some knowledge in the background of what zoning goes on with. I said maybe it'd be a good idea to try that field and see if I can help. And being a newcomer to the community, I love the community. I absolutely do. Every morning I'm up before the sunrise, have my cup of coffee, I don't turn the news on, just to look out and watch the sun come up, watch the community grow. It's amazing up here. It really is, I hate to say this, but it really is God's country up here. And this is one of the reasons I moved up here, because this is where I want to be the rest of my life. And if you vote for me, I greatly appreciate it. I'll do everything in my power to do the best job that the town wants. Thank you very much.
That was perfect, right? All right, moving on to our school board officials, candidates. We will start from New Durham, Miss Elizabeth Rose Sheckler.
Hi, everybody. Like Carl, I'm running unopposed, so I could be home singing Let It Go to my 2-year-old right now, but I come out and meet all of you. I am running for the New Durham seat. I moved to New Durham in 2020. My husband and I have been in New Hampshire since about 2008. Took a break for a few years and lived in Baltimore to get married and do other things. And now we're back. I'm a serial volunteer. I think it's really important to give back to your community. When we moved in New Durham, we moved in partially because we thought it was a great school district. We thought that our kids would do well if they went to Kingswood. And so this is my opportunity to make sure that that's a good experience for them. I have kids in the district. It's important to me that their education is a great one, and I intend to make sure that that happens the best way I can by being involved. I'm also a taxpayer, so I believe in fiscal responsibility because I hate getting that bill every year, just like you do. And I have a unique background, so I'm a former educator. I work in business development now, and I have a lot of experience in higher education, and so I think that I'll be a good fit for the school board in general. What's good for kids, and I know what's good for my kids. I think that's the same as what's good for your sons and daughters. But that said, I'm very keen to listen to the issues that you have. So please don't hesitate to talk to me if you have things that are of concern to you. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Schillerup for School Board Member at Large.
So good evening. I don't have Betty Davis' eyes, but I do have her voice. I'm not contagious. So I appreciate you listening to me squeak. A year ago, 2 days from now, a year ago, I sat here and spoke to you about my interest in becoming a member of the school board, the government school board. That was for a 1-year term, because I was finishing off someone else's 3-year term. Now I am seeking a position that will be for a 3-year term. I'm a career educator. I literally grew up with thousands of, hundreds of the 5th graders, elementary school kids, teachers, the communities, the families. This is super important to me. I take it very seriously. My family has been in and around this area for a lot of years. People, my grandfather specifically, 1926. I'm living in the old camp that he built. We go way back. I moved up here in 2010 when I retired. I'm running again because I take seriously the integrity of the board roles and responsibilities, specifically collaboration, advocacy, policy, standards, and communication. We take an oath. We take that very seriously. And we have ethics of office. So it's not just about me, that it's my adherence to what I believe, but working in unity with the rest of the board. After I was elected, I immediately went to every school, and I've been there more than once. Through that engagement with the schools, I ended up finding some needs that I could volunteer with myself, not as a school board member. So in New Durham, I volunteered with the 6th grade because in my other life I am a water quality tester on Lake Wentworth. So we got involved with that, with the water quality investigation, and that was really fun. So I could tell you all the things about my education and where I've been, but that would be talking the talk. So I want you to appreciate the fact that I walk the walk, and I've been to every school.
That's time.
I'm sorry?
That's time.
Okay. Well, that's fast.
Moving on to Wesley Smolledge.
Hello everyone, my name is Wesley Smolledge. This is my first time ever doing anything like this, so I don't have any resumes or anything like that. A little bit about me is I was born and raised in Wolfboro. I've lived up and down the East Coast. I currently reside in Wolfboro with my fiance and 2 stepchildren. We're all graduating from Kingswood. I'm a former United States Marine, a former firefighter from Tuftonboro Fire Rescue. I'm also the guy who was hit by a car working for the town of Wolfboro just over 6 years ago. And since then, when I came out of a coma, the amount of just sheer love and support that came from our community was massive, something I could never have imagined. And since then, I've been working on trying to give back. So recently, when people were asking me to run for school board, I gave it some thought, and I decided I would do just that. And especially when I, learned a little bit about our proficiency scores, which I spoke about in Tuftonboro, but since we're in Ossipee, I'll give you the Ossipee scores. And just a quick rundown. 11th grade Ossipee children are at 41% proficiency in reading and 26% proficiency in math. So basically that's what I'm running on, trying to make a change. If you elect me, I appreciate it, and I can tell you a few things that I bring: integrity, humility, transparency, honesty, and that's just about it. That's just who I am. I'm not going to play games with you. I'm not going to ask you to do anything special. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. Guy and I both have palm cards in the back with our email addresses and phone numbers on them, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Moving on to school board candidates from Tuftonboro. We'll start with Guy Pike.
I'm Guy. I'm running for the school board, hopefully in an effort to restore some of the faith that's been declining in the whole school system over the last few years. Lived in Tuftonboro for 69 years. My mom was born in Water Village and raised there. My uncle Clyde was born on Door Street when it wasn't a nice place to be. He picked himself up by the bootstrings and made something out of himself. And your kids over here can do the same with just a little help. And I think we'll be told that these proficiency scores are just a snapshot while the camera's out of focus or somebody's got their finger over the lens, something to that effect. But in order to get the faith back, we need to start working on transparency and accountability at every level. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, Jack Widmer, also from Tuftonboro.
Hi, my name is Jack Widmer. I've been a resident of New Hampshire since 1973 and a resident of Tuftonboro since 1988. I was first appointed to the school board in 1993, so I've been on the board for about 30 years. During that 30-year period, I served as board chair for 16 of those years. I've also served as team leader for the Finance Committee for the last 20-plus years, basically responsible for creating the budget with the superintendent, business administrator, and the rest of the school board to bring a budget that is providing the amount of money we need for the students, as well as trying to be fair to the taxpayers. During that time, I've also spent the last 20 years, or plus over 20 years, serving as on the Human Resources Committee. Again, basically responsible for negotiating contracts with our teachers, our support staff, and our administrators. I'm running for re-election because we have a lot of exciting things coming up over the next several years. We have a brand new strategic plan that we're introducing over the next 5 years. The 4 main focus areas are increasing academic achievement, creating a culture of belonging, improving parent, family, community communications and engagement, and student wellness and nutrition security. This process started last August with the school board and leadership team discussing challenges facing our school district and identified focus areas. In September, a strategic plan team was formed with school board members, SAU administration, principals, teachers, parent representation, and student representation. And what the result is a strategic plan that's being rolled out this year.
10 seconds.
Over the next couple of years, we have our 3 union contracts that are to be negotiated, and it's critical with some of the experience that get into those negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that concludes our introductions. At this point, we will move on to the question and answer portion that will come from the audience. So if you have a question, please stand up, state your name, your question, and who specifically you're addressing it to, as in what race. And if we have multiple questions for selectmen and multiple questions for the school board, we'll do a rotating answer basis. Any questions about how we do that? All right, yes?
And Katie, I did my due diligence today, and you've got all these warrants, which is directed to the people on the zoning board, or running for zoning board.
You have a question for the zoning board candidates?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Mr. Smith, who is the zoning officer, and running again. You have all these things that you want to do and amend, but you don't tell us why. And there's the one article of, we want to add definitions, but you don't tell us what definitions. You tell us the name, but you don't define it for us. How can we make educated decisions at the ballot if we don't know why you want to make those changes? And I realize you're trying to simplify the zoning ordinances and things like that. But I can't vote for that warrant because I don't know what you're going to define things as.
So we'll start with Dallas.
Well, I'm probably the right person to start with because I'm not for any of them. I don't want to make any zoning changes at all. None. As a matter of fact, I think that further on down the road, this town should consider getting rid of zoning altogether. It is not something that we actually need. The town doesn't need zoning. We still have to have the planning board. We still have to have the zoning board of adjustment. And we still have to have the selectmen. Everybody still has to approve things. The zoning is just an enforcement mechanism. That's all it is. It does nothing different for the town. So as far as me, I'm not for anything on the zoning. No changes at all.
Okay. We'll move to Mr. Doyle, and then we'll have Jonathan address it simply because you asked him specifically. But typically, we go by race. Mr. Doyle?
Yep. As being somebody new to just put into it, I agree with you. Last year when I came in to vote, there was a whole bunch of articles, and I had no idea what was going on with any of them. And the only thing that I saw on the ballot was look online to the website, and I was here to vote at that point. I had no idea. I think that it needs to be more transparent. Everybody needs to know what's going on. I don't feel that it should be, you show up on election day and there's just a thing that says look online. I really think that the public needs to be able to see what's going on, why these actions are taking place, and have their input on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith?
Thanks for the question, Ann. So I think there's some procedural misunderstanding as to how these warrants got on the ballot. zoning changes are administered or put forward by the planning board. So the current planning board, which is none of us, I don't think any of us sitting here today are on the planning board currently, including myself, I'm not on the planning board. All zoning changes have to originate either by petition, where they're submitted to the planning board, or the planning board themselves generates the change, and they hold multiple public meetings discussing these changes, which are publicly posted, and then they actually hold a public hearing on all those changes, which was actually held right here, and that was publicly posted. So due to the depth and complexity and the amount of language within every zoning change, it's impossible to post them within the ballot itself. They are posted on the webpage, they are discussed in public meetings, and they are discussed at a public hearing where the public is supposed to come, vet it through questions, discern whether they like it or not, so then on election day, they can check the box yes or no. So that is the procedure for zoning changes. So it's not up to the zoning officer, it's not up to the selectmen, and it's not up to the zoning board members, it's up to the planning board.
I went to the webpage today and I couldn't find it.
Miss Katie, if you have a follow-up, please be recognized first. So, do you have another question or just recognizing that? Okay, so please make sure you speak to the selectmen afterwards.
Okay.
And get directed to that. I did not mention that I'm timing the answers too, so we're still in the 2-minute, but nobody got that far, so. All right, next question. Marie McConaty in the back.
Hi, Marie McConaty, Center Ossipee. So since this question has already been brought up, I'd like to ask the people running for select.
Okay.
I mean, I already know where, John has already been on, so I'd like to ask the ones first that are running. What is your opinion of the zoning? And how do you think it should be enforced? Like, I mean, I know Dallas just said he's not for zoning. He'd like to get rid of it, but I'd like to ask the other people.
So zoning in general or the specific articles that are on that?
Dallas made a comment that he would like to at some point get rid of zoning in town because everyone thinks that, like, you know, anyone running for select, I'd like to know what you think. You know, Brian, Joe.
So the question is your thoughts on zoning. It is a 2-minute limit, and we'll start with Susan.
Well, my response to that, really understanding about the zoning committee, it's new to me. I know through the fire department with discussions with Dan Carl and speaking with the chief and things, trying to understand, I've been able to use those resources to ask questions. I've looked up on the internet to try to understand it. It's a whole new thing for myself other than, like what my husband had said, it's going to be a learning experience and understanding exactly the difference between the planning board and the zoning board.
Thank you.
I guess what my question is do you, like I'll point in, are you for or against zoning in the town?
In general.
In general?
Okay.
Right, I mean, like I said, I just heard Dallas say,
Yeah.
he'd like to get rid of zoning in the town. I'd like to know where everyone stands on that.
Okay, and Susan, do you feel
So
like?
I stand, positive for the zoning board, only for the educational part of it and understanding, what its limitations are. So yes, right at this point right now, yes, I'm for it.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Murphy.
I agree with the woman in the green sweater. I don't understand any of this. I know what zoning is, but I couldn't make heads or tails of that. I read that. I don't know which way to vote, yes or no, quite honestly. I'm not for more zoning. Problem is, if we don't have something in place, then, you get people building the way they shouldn't, and the plumbing's not right, the electrical and all that, but they are required to pull permits, so there is some enforcement in place for that, as it stands. I've never really been for zoning. I've never worked with it. Certainly, if I get elected, I'll do my research and get more familiar with it, certainly.
Next.
Yep, we're going to next.
So, you got to look at it this way. The zoning ordinance is the people's ordinance. That's you. You choose to keep it, you choose to have it enforced by your vote at the ballot box. The selectmen are legally obligated to enforce it. Frankly, I'm surprised we never got sued for the negligence in lack of enforcement, based on the number of complaints that go back 10+ years. We are remedying and rectifying that. Zoning is a tool to manage the town. Whether I like it or not is irrelevant as a selectman, because my obligation and duty via my oath is to uphold that law and administer the zoning ordinance, so everyone is treated equally and fairly across the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barron?
I don't like zoning. It's an evil necessary to a point, I think. There are several of us, and there's several people in this room, I want to thank them, we served on the board to help reduce some of the zoning, so most of these rules actually make it better and less restrictive. And so I'd like to see most of it passed for the most part, because I don't think this town will ever get rid of zoning. I don't like it. But like Jonathan says, selectmen have to enforce the rules and regulations of the people, which is what this is. So we did redo a lot of this. There's a lot of hard work by a lot of people, a lot of them are here. And then it went to the planning board, and we went all through it again. I am a member for one more meeting. And we went through it one end to the other, and some of the stuff got corrected again because it wasn't legal, or definitions weren't wrote right, or there were double definitions, and a lot of this straightens all that out, that's all it is.
Madam Moderator, I just make a correction. I need to apologize to Mr. Barron. He is on the planning board, and I just passed over him.
No apologize, no apologies needed. I was kind of ducking anyway.
All right, Mr. Deegan.
That's a tough question, because it is voted in by the people, and it can be voted out by the people. If it gets voted, so voting it in gives a set of rules that hopefully makes it equal for everybody. Sometimes not. If it does get voted out, the state does have rules to go by that are already set up. So when you vote zoning in, you're voting in, it can't be less restrictive than, it can be more restrictive than the state, that's what I'm trying to say. So that's what some of our rules do, is they make it more restrictive. Just lost my track, sorry. I'm much better in the background than I am in the foreground. With the zoning, it is, I believe right now it is good. I think that coming from a fire inspector side, so I do fire inspections for Center of Ossipee, you have to be looking at the situation that you're working with, staying within the law, working with people, looking at their circumstances and figuring out the best way to make, in this case, zoning better. So it should be on a one-to-one case. It should be fair, spread across, but sometimes you have to look at the amount of time it takes to correct things. And if I could, let's say one more thing. The way I think that it would help, because I question what you're looking at too. It would be very helpful that on election day anyways, to have what the zoning was, the article was, and then have the corrective wording, the wording too, so that you can see what's going on, or what you're voting for.
Thanks, Joe. All right, Dallas, do you want to
Let me
address?
answer again.
If you have more to say, you certainly are.
I don't want anybody to think that I would not uphold the zoning regulations the way they are now, because we have no choice. That's what everybody voted for, and that's the way it is. I just think that we should consider getting rid of them, because they've become a problem, and that's all there is to it. And there's nothing that's going to change by getting rid of zoning. There's still going to be planning board review. There's still going to be a zoning board of appeals to review whatever planning board may have made a mistake on. There's also going to be selectmen that are going to have to oversee all the state regulations that enforce all of the same things. So nothing really changes other than a little bit more free choice of what you want to do with your yard, your property, that's all. So I would be for trying to get it out of there.
Thanks, Dallas. Mr. Keys.
Thank you for the question. I would wholeheartedly disagree with getting rid of zoning. I would wholeheartedly disagree on a personal level with eliminating zoning. for all the reasons you just heard. If we were going to paint a picture of what this town would look like with zero zoning, I don't think it's a pretty one. I do believe in the legislative body, which is all of you, my constituents, or the taxpayers, and if you wanted to vote out zoning as a selectman, I would wholeheartedly support it. Thank you.
All right, another question, Mr. Merrill.
I'm Harry Merrill. I just want to say that all the years that I was selected, I've never seen as many people. I have a question. I was going to ask one selectman, but the way you do it, I was sort out. This is a hypothetical question, and if I asked this 10 years ago, you'd have laughed me off the stage. You still might, but I still want to know. Let's assume that you're all sitting home at night, and let's say you're taking it easy. All of a sudden, the phone, you pick up the phone, and you get a call, and 2 buses of illegal immigrants have just been dumped on the town hall lawn. What would you do?
All right, so, does everybody understand the question?
Yeah.
All right, we will start now with Mr. Murphy.
Well, they're human beings, we have to take care of them regardless if we agree why they're here or not. We'd have to get a whole bunch of resources. I don't know. I've never been a selectman, I don't work for the town, I don't know what's in place. I would know how to handle it. I've got training, emergency management, and crisis incidents and all that good stuff. I don't activate the emergency management, call fire, police, get everybody there, set up a command post, and try to get some resources, housing, food, clothing, whatever they need. They're here, we have to take care of them, like it or not, like it or not. And they're probably coming, quite honestly.
Mr. Smith.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Harry. So simply, if someone spends one day in the town of Ossipee, the town of Ossipee is obligated to provide public assistance to welfare. So the first thing I would do is contact the welfare office and get the welfare director involved to have a meeting with the Board of Selectmen. I'd call an emergency meeting for the Board of Selectmen, get the welfare director, and reach out to the state, both Homeland Security and DHHS, to get their assistance. Because, again, you're saying busloads, that could be 20, that could be 100. And if there's 100 people that show up in Ossipee, we are going to be overwhelmed and we are going to need outside assistance. I would also get the emergency management director involved, who is our Center Ossipee fire chief. So I would bring all the resources together as fast and as quickly as we can and render the assistance that we're required to by the law.
Mr. Barron.
You know, sometimes it kind of rots to be the next guy because he pretty much said it all. So it's pretty hard to top that, I think, but he's right. You'd have to believe that. I don't think you'd leave him back in the bus and send him back. So you would have to get involved and by law take care of him. And like I said, you can't top what he said. I agree with him.
Thanks, Ryan. Joe?
The only thing I can add is that I would hope that there would be a little notice. If there's buses of people coming here, I think like New York got noticed and Martha's Vineyard and things like that. So, but I agree, we do have a welfare office, and he is correct. The moment you spend one night here, the town is obligated to help you. So.
Okay, thanks. Dallas?
Well, I don't think we have a choice in the matter. I mean, the state pretty much dictates that we have to take them in. I'm not really for it. I think that the town probably couldn't afford it if we got dumped on with that many people. And we'd have to try to figure out a way to handle the situation. Now, that involves everybody. It wouldn't be just a one-person situation where, you know, they're going to, hey, I'm going to call the shots and we're going to do it this way. It's not going to happen. I think, you know, it's going to be a big problem, or it's already a big problem in states south of us, on both sides of us. And we're probably going to end up having to deal with it at some point. The state is really the one who has put it on our shoulders, pretty much. If you spend one day, that's the law. You spend one day here, and we have to take care of you. So there's not much, everybody's hands are tied with that question. If that answers your question here.
Thanks, Dallas. Brian?
So it's already been said, it would start local, you know, we'd start with the local police, and then it would spread out to state and federal from there, which I don't have the phone numbers to, but I know someone who does. So what you've already heard, not to be an echo, I would do that. Harry, I would not bring them up to your land on the mountain road. I would not do that. I would not do that. I would call for help.
Thanks, Brian. All right, another question. All right, Ms. Parker.
Lynn Parker, I live in Ossipee Corner. I'm interested in the selectmen and your meeting time. 4:30 in the afternoon does not allow most workers to attend the selectmen's meeting. Would you consider having at least one Saturday meeting at least every other month, or some other alternative time that would permit other people to participate in the process?
Thank you, Ms. Parker. We'll start with Jonathan Smith.
Thank you for the question, Lynn. A Saturday meeting, I would say no. And the reasons are this. We have multiple people that are involved with selectmen's meetings, the public works director, the town administrator, the finance director, sometimes the rec director. Sometimes we have to reach out for resources that are only open Monday through Friday to make contact with somebody to make a decision in a meeting. So a Saturday meeting, although I understand the reasoning behind it, logistically and administratively, it just would not work. It would be, we may meet and then we couldn't make any further decisions because we don't have access to the resources and information. Our employees are off Saturday and Sundays, and to ask them to come in on a Saturday or Sunday would not be prudent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barron.
I would be in favor of actually having the meetings later in the day on the day they have them. I'm like everybody else, I still work for a living. And I think a 6 or 6:30 meeting would be a lot better than a 4:30 meeting, in my opinion. I've felt that way for years.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deegan.
Well, this adds,
Did I skip something? Joe, you're up. You're up.
so, thanks, helped me, I'm feeling a little more comfortable than I was at the beginning. So, I do believe that we are here to serve you. You're the one that votes us in. So we can't do our jobs without your input, and your vote, and your say. I do believe that changing the meetings to, and I've had that issue myself. I think that more people should be involved, and I think that doing it at 4:30 doesn't allow a lot of people to get here. I think 6 would be a better time. I'm a half hour off from him. But yeah, I really think that would be better for, I think you'd get more turnout. A lot of public meetings, you really don't get a lot of turnout at. This is incredible, what we have here tonight. If the percentage of what showed up here showed up at annual meeting next week, it'd be incredible.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
May I ask a point of clarity?
Yes.
The question was for Saturday meetings, not weekday meetings.
Or an alternative.
Oh,
She did ask.
Yeah.
okay. Can I just add to that then? Okay.
Let's
I'll
get
wait.
back around.
Sure.
Dallas, you're up.
As somebody who goes to every single meeting that they have, I find it very difficult to get here at 4:15. Usually they have a workshop at 3 o'clock that I never make. And it's a good thing that Ed from Government Oversight films all of those meetings, because that's how I find out most of my information. Finding it later in the day, maybe more people will show up. I've been doing this for years. This is amazing to me to see this many people in a room. Usually it's 2, 3, at most 10. Switching times, I don't know if it matters. I think everybody just kind of needs to just come to the selectmen and say, hey, can we do this? And, get a consensus. But I don't think it's going to matter changing times. Later in the day might work. Everybody said, well, that's dinner time. Okay, earlier in the day, well, somebody else is doing stuff. So I think it's very, very difficult to pick a time that everybody's going to show up. My biggest thing is consistency. There seems to be not a lot of consistency lately as to when the meetings are going to happen. Whether it's every week, every 2 weeks, or last meeting, it was 3 weeks from the last meeting. So I would like to see a little more consistency on when the meeting is, rather than worry about what time it is. because anything that we really need to find out about, so far, Ed has been great, and he's been filming every single meeting, so I don't think we're missing anything.
All right, Mr. Keys?
Thank you. I would entertain any time or day. However, I think it's important as a selectman to be mindful of the town employees and department heads. Like was mentioned, it's important to have department heads at a certain number of meetings per month. In the human sense, I would have no problem with Saturday or later. But as a selectman, you're obligated to be a good employer, and that includes getting department heads to meetings on time. Thank you.
Mrs. Doyle, you're next, and I apologize, I did not give you an opportunity to speak on the last question, so if you'd like to address that as well, you can.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question, Glenn. The thing with the meetings, it's funny, that's one question that I had back when I first came here. I wanted to know why it was so early. And I did some research on it, and I guess it's been quite a long time that it's been at that time. And I understand about, the department heads, and, they want to go home to their families and wrap up the day. But I don't think Saturday would be good, because I don't think you'd have the participation on Saturdays. But being on the budget committee, 6:30 is a fantastic time. You've had an early supper, you feel refreshed again. I think you're going to have more people that have come home from work. They might come first to the meetings, or seeing what's happening, and then go home with their families. Also, like with the budget committee, that's great, is that they put out when the meetings are going to be, what time. We get our schedule for the entire season, and you can make your plans. You can tell other people too that we're not going to be able to make that. But in the commissioners' meetings, I'm there on every other Tuesday of the month. What time? It's 6 o'clock. It seems to be a very comfortable time. So I think from the very beginning when I looked into it, I was in favor of maybe an early evening. Or a little bit later, maybe, not so much 4, but maybe 5. I don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
So personally, it doesn't matter to me, I'm pretty flexible, but I don't think it would be fair to ask the department heads to come in on the weekend, and then we get into payroll, they're on overtime, we take a few hours off during the week, and you get into all that. But I'm from a little town called Danville, southern New Hampshire, Rockingham County, and Monday night was the selectmen meeting, 7 o'clock, all my life, never changed. I believe it's still 7 o'clock. But whatever works, it doesn't matter to me personally.
Thank you. So, I'm going to try and switch it up. Do we have any questions for our school board members? Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Elliott from Center Ossipee. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for stepping forward and doing this. I think we all appreciate that. I know it takes a lot of courage and put yourself out there and being sort of vulnerable, so thank you very much. No matter what happens, you're all heroes as far as I'm concerned. I was an educator for 44 years, so my question is for the school board, and Mr. Smalls, I'm not trying to pick on your document, but you have a document, and you say all voices deserve to be heard. So as an educator, the one voice you didn't talk about were educators. You talked about students, and you talked about parents, and you talked about taxpayers. So I'd love to hear the school board, what would be your interaction and connections with the actual teachers and educators in the various schools that you're going to be connecting with?
Thank you. And we'll start with Ms. Sheckler.
Thanks for your question. I serve on the PTO in New Durham, and so we meet once a month, so I see teachers there. I also volunteer in the schools, and I speak to the teachers when I see them in the hallways. It's my plan to visit every school in the district this year if I can, if I'm elected, which I probably will be because nobody else will. And that would be how I would go about that.
Awesome. Thank you. Mary, sure.
So I can totally relate, being a teacher myself. Over the years, especially when there's a lot of change, so much is put upon the shoulders of the teachers. As I have this past year, going along in between the different schools, walking into every classroom and seeing what they have going on. The robotics, at every school, robotics is a really big deal. In supporting them through the budget, What's different for me is the union aspect, because my teaching career was not in a union state. However, there were restrictions put upon us by the state. So my concern is also the expectations placed upon teachers I think they refer to as unfunded mandates. So you get a certain amount of money per student, all that kind of stuff, but then you're expected to do all these other things. What I'm seeing, especially in Ossipee, outreach and the support that exists in the staff, it's obviously valued because it's present. I apologize for my voice. So my focus on teachers is 100% teachers all the time. I get it.
Thank you. Mr. Smallage.
So thank you, first of all, for pointing that out. I guess I just assumed that being on the school board, I would be interacting with the educators. And so my focus was, we need to represent the parents. They represent the kids, the taxpayers. But I certainly overlooked that, and I appreciate you for pointing it out. I would certainly interact with the teachers because they are half of the equation of what we are working towards as far as helping the kids. So I would 100% interact with the teachers anytime I could, at any schools that I could. I had mentioned before that I've never done this before, so this is my first time. But like everyone else, I work full-time, but I would still make time to interact with the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pike.
I put out a call on several different local forums to the educators. I made it possible for them to respond to me anonymously. Please give me your concerns, suggestions. I had one response. Are the teachers perfectly happy? I can't believe that. The school board has a meeting in every different town around the district. At that point in time, some of these are televised. I don't see any teachers standing up with any concerns. Are they following up the chain of command before they go to the school board and getting their answers? I don't know this. The only way I can find out is to sit in the seat. And that is where you can get some information without having to pull teeth.
Thank you. Mr. Whitmore.
Thank you. In Governor Wentworth, we do have a policy where you can certainly call a school principal and ask for time to spend in their classrooms. You can spend a full day in a school if you want. You can visit with the teachers. We have a great relationship with our unions, and again, I've been on the union negotiating team for quite a while. We respond to the teachers' needs, and it's incorrect when we do go to each one of the school districts, schools in the district during our school board meetings, and teachers are always there. They're always in the audience, participating if they can. Generally, when we go to an elementary school, the school is putting on a presentation for the school board. The teachers are there to support their colleagues and to support the kids doing the presentations. So we do have a lot of interaction with the teachers, and it's, again, open to call the principal if you want to spend a day in the building. You can certainly do that anytime you want. And I've done that myself.
Thank you. Other questions, Mr. Costello?
I'll stick with the school board theme. My name is Bob Costello. I live in West Ossipee. Been there almost 20 years now. Not as long as Harry, but I'm getting to be an old head. I'd like to ask a two-pronged question. The first half of it is pretty much a yes or no answer, but I think it's going to become somewhat of a football in our society. And then I'd like to tag a second question onto that. And if possible, ask Carl to address it from the library point of view on the second question also. So question one of the leading political parties in our country, and this is, I understand, a nonpartisan operation here. There's not Democrats and Republicans involved in the official proceedings here, either as candidates or as citizens. But our nation appears to be headed to a discussion about requiring vaccinations of children in order to attend school. It looks like it's on its way to being a hot topic. And so simple yes or no question to the school board candidates is, do you feel that there should be mandatory vaccination of children in order to have them attend school? And then a second question, also possibly a football, it's gaining traction fast, would be banning
already, so I wanted to get their opinion on that topic, and if possible, ask Carl to interject on that one as a library trustee also.
Okay, so we will start with the school board candidates. We'll start with Mrs. Schillerup.
Thank you. As far as the vaccinations go, that's a state decision. So my yes or no is we follow state law. So as board members, we can address policy and we look at the process. We can't change the law. So I hope that answers your question. As far as the banning of books, the burning of books, I was very thrilled really to be part of that discussion and prior to even being on the board, concerns coming from parents because it helped illuminate the fact that no, we're not, these teachers aren't involved in indoctrinating and all the language that came out of that. But although it felt very personal and a sensitive topic by the folks that were concerned asking those questions, there was and I believe it was asked here last year too, because I remember that we talked about the American Library Association. There are policies and procedures that's been addressed. I'm very confident that it's a helpful situation. You know, we can't control what other people say or do, but you can be very well assured that the school board, the school districts, the principals, and the parents take that all under control and our children are fine and your children are safe and laws are followed. Sorry about my voice.
Thank you. Mr. Smallage, vaccinations and burning of books.
So vaccinations, I'm just going to tell you straight up, no, I don't believe children should be required to be vaccinated to go to school. I believe that that is a parent's decision, and if elected as a school board member, I'm not a parent of your child. I should not be making that decision for you or any of you. As far as book banning or book burning goes, when I hear those terms, I think of Nazi Germany. Now, I know that sounds extreme, but that's just what pops into my head, so I don't like to use those phrases. But I don't believe that sexual material belongs in our schools any more than a Bible does. So I hope that answers your question. I don't believe that politics, religion, any of it belong in our schools or our school boards or being introduced to our children. When they become adults, they can make decisions on their own.
Thank you. Mr. Pike.
I also don't believe in vaccinations, especially as they were pushed on us most recently. Not a traditional vaccination in that sense. I'm not in favor of banning or burning books. I want age-appropriate things in the high school. My wife, my first wife I should say, turned 17 10 days after I married her. She was 3 months pregnant. We didn't need any help from books. All right? And raging teenage hormones certainly do not need help from books. So keeping things appropriate in the schools is fine. There's plenty of places in public libraries and all over the internet for people to find what they want to read.
Thank you. Mr. Whitmer.
As far as vaccinations go, I kind of agree with Mary. The state laws that require certain things that have to be done. As a school board member, I'm not going to tell a parent that you have to have your child vaccinated. But if the state law says certain vaccinations have to be done prior to entering school, that's not in our control at all. As far as book banning goes, we did have a lot of discussion, obviously, last year about this. We had a lot of 91A requests to look at our libraries to see what content was in our libraries, and there was nothing inappropriate in our high school libraries that were identified during that period of time. So I'm not for book banning at all. I think we do a good job in monitoring what goes into our libraries.
Thank you. Mrs. Sheckler.
No redundancy, right?
No, we've done.
I follow state law, so again, it's not the school board's place to decide whether or not vaccines should be mandated in the schools. That's state of New Hampshire's rule, what you said, sorry. And also, I believe that the schools do a really excellent job with providing parents balance and choice. So there's a difference between banning books in the library and also teaching books in the classroom that parents don't approve of. Typically, if there's a book that's being taught in your classroom, you can work with your classroom teacher and they can offer an alternative. And I had that experience when I went through public schools as a kid, that something was going on for a long time. I'm not in favor of banning books, and I think that our schools do a good job of having a balance of materials that are, that lots of kids can find something to identify, and I think lifelong love of reading is an important way to be an informed citizen.
Mr. Tyler, would you like to address the
library question?
the vaccinations for?
No,
Just the banning of books.
I won't answer the vaccination one.
Okay.
But the library one, we do have a policy where people can appeal and challenge a book that's in the library. What I would say is we have separate sections for adults and for children. And I would like to think that parents are responsible for their children, and they can decide whether their children can take a book out or not, if they're suitable for that book. And as I said, there is a challenge policy, but we do pretty much follow the American Library Association and their guidelines. But I personally am not in favor of book burning or book banning. I didn't get anybody pregnant when I was 17, probably because I read about it in a book. I got to that age. But also, I think, you know, I read books about Germans and Nazis, and I didn't become one of those either. So I think the thing about a library is it's a wealth of knowledge, and people can take that knowledge and use it however they want, for good or for evil. And the same can be said for faith. You can use that for good or for evil. How people interpret that is down to them, not down to the library or the person that wrote the book. That's my feeling. That may not be the feeling of other trustees, but that's my feeling.
Another question, Mr. Fishbone.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thanks for all of you running for these positions. It's a thankless job most of the time, but I respect you all for putting yourselves out there. I have questions for every one of you, to be quite honest, but we don't have the time for that. So I'm going to go back to the selection side. As a business owner in this town, as a resident all my life here, I personally feel like what I've seen in leadership over the last few years has been the best this town has ever seen. Working with the Economic Development Council since 2017, no one since then has shown more support for the efforts we've put forth. And everyone on that board has walked the walk. So I have a couple questions for the select board, if I may, as we consider the cool character that is Ossipee. What is your opinion of the state of condition of the town-owned buildings, and what is your plan for the future of them?
All right, we will start with Mr. Bannon.
Yeah, I'm in trouble. I know the condition of most of them. I know they've done work with some. Well, any town-owned building should meet code and specs. But I have not inspected them personally, so I do not know what the conditions are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deegan?
That's a great question, Ashley. So we own a bunch of buildings. There was also a study done by Main Street as to the use, the movement to add buildings to this area, to consolidate everything. Look at the useful life of the building, see if it's going to cost more to maintain it or to raise it and start fresh. I think that's something that you need to look at. Because you could be sinking money into something that you're just going to keep sinking money into. I really do think that, and that goes into what you'll see if you read what I wrote, looking at the foundation of the town and making sure that that's shored up and ready to go. Because if you don't have a good foundation or a good starting place, you're not going to be able to move forward.
Thanks, Dallas?
I've brought this up actually at budget committee meetings already, that there's buildings in this town that are going to need work. They're going to have to be replaced. We're going to have no choice. And I was told, well, you know, now we don't want to talk about that right now. Or it's going to be, you know, something we're going to have to put in front of the town to get a bond for many millions of dollars to do. So yeah, we may have to at some point. We're gonna run out of time. We have a police station that's in need of a lot of repair. We have a public water department that's in need. The building is just in horrible shape. This building here alone needs a bunch of work. But I will tell you, this building, a lot of the people would like to see it put back the way it was. They want the cupola back. As far as what's going on underneath the building, I've heard stories. I have no idea. But I think a lot of people would like to keep this building the way it is. The other buildings, we're gonna need to do something. A plan forward would have to be brought before the town, and it's gonna cost a lot of money. It's just no way around it. So I can't give you a plan. I can tell you what I think we need to do, but everybody's gonna have to discuss it. It's gonna be major money.
Thank you. Mr. Keys?
Thanks, Ash. That's a good question. When you're talking about municipal property, it falls into two categories. It's either an asset or liability. And I think it speaks volumes as to the importance of maintaining a healthy unassigned fund balance so we can curb taxation through buildings that are a liability or get them off the books. So I think the only way to know would be to get like boots on the ground and walk through every single town building, which is something I would be interested in as a selectman. Thanks.
Mrs. Doyle?
That is a good question. A lot of agreement with Brian, and each thing would have to be evaluated historically. The cost to renovate or tear down and replace. Again, that's very, very costly. It would have to be decided, planned. As far as, what the police station is part of Ossipee, but with the fire departments, it's precincts. So that's an individual, personal part of the precincts with their budgets. But there's a lot to go into, with replacing buildings. Again, the biggest thing would be the historical part of it and whether it would be worth, renovating and, bringing it back up.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
I think you're gonna have to look at each individual building, structure, whatever it may be, as a separate project. And you're gonna have to have a professional come in and get an estimate on the repairs, if that's what you wanna do. You gotta leave it up to the residents, put it on in the warrant article or something, and let them decide if they wanna spend the money. So you can get an estimate on the cost, or if it's better off just demolishing it. It's very simple, it's gonna cost money. I think everything's about the money back. So that's where I stand on that.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yep. Thank you, Ash, for the question. It's a complex answer, but it's pretty simple to begin the process. This building has serious structural deficiencies, both in the framing, the electrical, the plumbing. We have a rec director who basically works out of a shed. We have a police department building that is so antiquated, they can't process prisoners, they can't hold a prisoner. Matter of fact, about 2 or 3 months ago, I was having a conversation with Public Works Director about creating a building committee. One of the things, if I do get reelected, to create a building committee which would comprise of all department heads, come up with what you project your needs are going to be in the future, and where do you think this town should go in the long run. And part of that's going to be, out of that committee, if the board agrees, would be to hire a structural engineer to assess the structural integrity of the electrical, the plumbing, the wooden structure, the foundations of our current assets, and look at what the total cost would be to get these up to where they're supposed to be, and then come up with an analysis long-term, whether it's a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, either start putting money aside or coming up with a design longer-term to determine which direction we're going to go. It really is, it's complex. It would be, but the first thing would be a building committee comprised of department heads to try to come up with a solution and a plan, and then from there you have to get into the engineering and future plans for the town infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. That's everybody. Sure. All right, another question. Yes, sir, in the back.
Selectmen or the planning board? What
You
resources?
state your name.
James Simpson. What resources are something you feel contributes most to our economic future?
Can you say that one more time, just louder?
What resource in Ossipee do you feel contributes most to our economic future?
Okay. Perfect. So we will have our selectmen and our planning board candidates speak to that. So we will start with Joe Deegan.
Can I ask you to qualify? Are you looking at a business type resource or a natural resource?
Either one.
The natural resource?
Either one.
No, right. So if we're gonna look at a natural resource, it would be great to figure out how to use Mount Nickerson, which AKA is Mount Whittier, which actually is the wrong name for the mountain. That would be a great resource. I think that area would potentially could be used to be a draw for people to stay and come here. As far as an economic resource, the small businesses that we have right now, like Sap House and Hobbs and that, build on that. There is, if we're going to look at economic potential resources, the downtown area, it would be great to create like eclectic shops for people to come to. It would be great to turn this into a destination instead of a pass through. I don't know if that answered your question, but I hope.
Mr. Emery.
I think Ossipee has a lot of resources. We have a great lake out there that seems to draw an awful lot of tourists to this area. We are actually having to have a short-term rental policy put in place just for that reason. I also believe that our train track that is out here could be a valuable resource if they ever wanted to do anything with it. I understand they want to put a rail trail in there, but I believe it has better potential and more potential than that. We have grocery stores, we have department stores, we have a lot of things in this town already. I remember probably, 10 years ago, maybe a little less than that, there was a talk about a walkable downtown. And I believe we're on the path towards that, we're just not there yet. So, our most valuable resource would be the lake. And I'll go with that.
Charlie.
Thanks for the question. I believe the natural resources are going to speak for themselves. I think this town's most important resource is you. The legislative body is the people that show up at town meeting. They're the ones that guide where this town's going to go. I mean, there's so much talk about the future. However, if you can have a goal, but if you don't have a plan, then all you have is a wish. So in order for any of this stuff to come to fruition, we're going to have numbers like this show up at town meeting and selectmen's meetings and kind of push the boulder up the hill. I would also add that one of the best resources we have are our town employees being involved in the town hall, our department heads, the town itself, the employees are a very valuable resource. When you have high morale of the municipal workers, you have efficiency, you have transparency, and you guys are getting it right now. Thank you.
Mrs. Doyle.
As far as recreational and environmental, we look again, the lake and the tourism that comes in, the campgrounds, and the money that comes in from, the tourism. And, we utilize, we have the market, we have the stores, we have beautiful mountains and everything for people to see. And it does bring in for the business to grow, like, the Sap House, Hobbs. I'd like to see a little bit more of the downtown area, just little shops, things like that, but that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot in town here. Most people that come up, they drive right on by, they stop for gas, dinner, lunch, whatever it may be. They're heading up skiing, snowmobiling. That property over on 16 and 25, I remember skiing there and going up on the gondola when I was a kid. It'd be great. It's a great location. I think part of that's for sale for quite a bit of money. But I remember when they skied there, I rode the gondola in my grandfather. Outside of the lakes, I mean, we die right down here. Let's say after Labor Day till Columbus Day, you get the leaf peepers, and nothing really till ski season. There's no skiing around here. They head north. As far as the downtown goes, I don't know. I really don't attract the locals. People heading north on 16, I doubt highly they're going to turn in here unless they're staying in one of the campgrounds that's somewhere around the lake. That's my opinion on that.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
So clearly, it's the lakes within the town. We need to protect the lakes because they are our number one asset when it comes to tax revenue, tourist dollars. That is a huge, without the lakes, this town wouldn't be able to have what it currently has with the current tax rate we have. The next economic driver would be Route 16 itself. I mean, that's the backbone of our town. Everybody that travels north or south comes right through our town. So somehow, and it's a challenge because we don't have water and sewer that expanded upon Route 16, to get industrial parks or businesses to call Ossipee their home. And economic development has been working on this, but it's a real challenge because the money's not there for water and sewer infrastructure. The town can't afford it. And grants, I've reached out to people that are involved with grants for those, and it's so competitive, and it's a decade out to even get a small piece of it. What else? I think I answered the questions, unless I missed something. I apologize.
Mr. Barron?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when 16 put in and 16B was 16. And that's kind of when this town actually died. And people, the economic people, have been trying for years to bring business back into town. And once again, our views, our lakes and stuff are our resources. We need places where people stay. I remember when Whittier was skied on. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember all that. And it'll never come back. I wish it would, but a lot of work to be done. And I think we should work on our views and stuff and maybe places for people to stay.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our planning board members that were also asked as well. So Connie and Kate. Connie, you want to start?
I will agree with Brian as far as our best asset in town is you people who are sitting right there. The other thing that this town needs is what they call a capital improvement committee, which we don't have. That would cover all your buildings, plan, work with the planning board, and we would improve. We need more housing at a lower cost. We know this. How are we going to achieve it? Thank you.
So I can speak as someone who's fairly new to the community, and I can tell you what I noticed first. And I noticed a lot of people with a big heart, very generous. They'll take the time to explain to you, and it makes you feel welcome. And I imagine if I was a tourist and I stopped somebody who was local and they treated me that way, I'd be coming back because I'd be like, those people are awesome. So I think it is the people. I think it's the work ethic that they also have. I'm not afraid to work with people here at all. And I think there's a very strong caring for each other. And I've been told this many times, and I'm starting to really see it and feel it. But if somebody's house burns, people are going to show up and people are going to care. And I think when you have that kind of strength in your community, that sort of resilience, I think that really is this invisible strength that you have and a great resource because you feel better, you feel you're a part of something. I do wish people would be more involved in this process, but I think those that don't, they might be working the 2-3 jobs. You know, she might be waitressing, you know, her husband might be on a 3rd shift. So not everyone has the luxury to show up at meetings, and I understand that. But I do think it is that, and we have natural beauty. I see it every day. Like I said, I take pictures, send them to my city friends, and it's stunning. And how we use that going forward so that we are creating economic benefits to everybody, not just the businesses, not Sap House and Hobbs and all that, which is great because they bring people here. So that's fantastic. But we need it to benefit everybody that lives here so that they feel those. It's not trickling down a little, but everyone feels that they're benefiting from this, obviously, tourist attraction. And we certainly could do more with it because we certainly see around us other communities have, and I think we might be missing out on some opportunities to reduce your taxes more without affecting the spirit of the town, the spirit of a tight-knit community, and that's something I won't give up. So I wouldn't trade the tight-knit community for more money. Thank you.
All right, another question. Yes. Spencer.
Cindy Spencer. It's been brought up about how important Ossipee Lake is as one of our resources. I too can remember when Route 16 went, Route 16B and Flaggate Farm, Route 28 went there. How can we have a liaison between the state of New Hampshire and the boat ramp on Route 25 that has a lot of boat traffic and concerns about water pollution in our beautiful lake? Is there a way the town can have...
Who is this for?
Pardon me?
Who is this for?
Probably for the selectmen, because they're more of the town spokesperson.
Okay, we're clear on the question? Okay, so we'll start with Dallas.
Okay. Well, I'm not exactly sure how we can get anything through with the state on, on the boat ramp itself. You know, that's a really difficult question because the state controls all of the waterways.
Right.
And, you know, the town is very limited in what they can do. Now, the state also has the road. So when they're parking out there, not on the parking, they're still on state property. So I think that's going to be a bigger fight than just the town or the selectmen can handle. That's going to be going to the state and saying, lobbying or expressing yourself. It's all going to have to go through the state because we have no say-so of the water. You know, and that kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is. It's the land, even that, 75 feet off of the water line, the state still controls. You can't cut trees and things like that. That's state mandated. So there's a lot of rules that the state would have to work on before we can do anything. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep.
Thank you.
I can answer that. I mean, the first call is to New Hampshire DES. That would be the liaison. And then notwithstanding third-party things like New Hampshire Lakes, they're involved in mitigating milfoil. And I would also call Councilor Kenny. I mean, we have a liaison to get to where we need to be with our executive councilor, state, New Hampshire, DES, and third party. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Doyle.
Basically, all I know from, with Lake Ossipee is my experience over in the town of Freedom. And being on the lake and the lakefront and kind of limiting the amount of boats and things. The town does have a lot of influence on different things because there's campgrounds there. They want to, not have it overrun with a lot of boats and ruining the land, the nature and the water. So I have no idea how they were able to have a strong voice towards that. And, that was good advice that Brian was given, good knowledge to, go that way, but to stand firm as a group, especially if you live on the water, is to be able to speak up and look into making sure that these guidelines that are comfortable for, your neighborhood.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
You're talking about environmental concerns. Is that trash, gas and oil, the water, the boat traffic, all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay, I don't know if the property is owned by the town or the state. I know the ramp's the state.
It is. There's a lot of parking that goes along. It's a safety issue, too.
It certainly is. I know the volume of boat traffic on that lake on a Saturday afternoon is crazy.
It's disgusting.
When I was a kid, I don't remember it. It's very busy up there. But as far as that goes, I don't think you're going to have any luck having a state agency looking to another state agency. That's just going to be swept right under the carpet. I don't know the issues. I don't know enough about it to make any more comments on it. But it's an issue. We're up to the board. We'll certainly take a look at it, see what we can do.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Susie, for the question. Everyone echoed here that it's state property and the town has very little control over it. As far as I'm aware, there is no daily limit of boats that can access that point. That may be something that you contact your state representative, who happens to be one of your selectmen.
Okay.
And I can reach out to the state and see if there's something that can be placed in administrative rules that help maybe set a number of boats that could be launched there on a daily basis. And if there isn't, there could be something legislatively that could be done, but mind you, neither one of these are an easy process, especially on the legislative side. So, but the town, I appreciate your concern, but the town, if the Board of Selectmen sent a letter for these concerns, what they would do with that letter would go in a round file. Because there's no force of law behind it, it's just a request for them to look into it, and they probably respond but not do anything about it. The solution would be your state representative contacts, try to get an administrative rule change and or legislative change to help limit the number of boats that can either park on 25, cars that can park on 25, or boats that can be launched daily at that boat ramp. So that's the best, that would be the best plan of action.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
Well, he just said I was going to say about the selectmen, didn't just throw it in the trash. I do believe you could maybe write a letter to DES with a petition from a lot of citizens would have more weight than the selectmen. They'd probably throw that in the trash. And your other resort is your state legislators, contact more than one, ask Jonathan to get involved in it. He's pretty good at that stuff, and that's actually his job. It would not be the selectmen's job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deegan?
So I think as far as fuel and oil on the lake, most of that comes from when you're fueling on the lake, so that would be where the pumps are. That comes under the DES rules. I'm not quite sure, I think it would be difficult to control the amount of boating going on, because that's a public use space. When I was the chairman of the Conservation Commission, we were part of a program, it was an ambassador program. As far as the milfoil goes, there was an ambassador, there was at least one ambassador at both of the sites where you can launch boats. So that at least helped to mitigate milfoil coming into or leaving and going to another lake. I really haven't stayed in touch with the conservation because of the fire, because of the chair, the fire commissioner and everything. But that was a program that I believe helped.
All right, another question. Yes, sir.
This goes for everybody. What's your opinion on the reason that there's so many people here at this particular meeting tonight? Why do you think that's, why do you think there's so many people here? I've heard it mentioned a bunch of times, and I was just wondering, what was your opinion why there's so many new people here?
And is this everybody?
And is this your opinion? I guess we can, it's not you, I guess, pick it up only. So you can go on that side of the table.
So we'll run through, I'll do just a timer for these, starting with Mr. Widmer, about why do you think there's such a large turnout here tonight, perhaps on both sides of the table, constituents and candidates? Mr. Whitmer.
Well, thank you. I think it's important for people to get out to understand who they're voting for, what they're voting for, and ask questions that are...
Yeah.
Why do you think there's so many people here tonight? Not as important, well, it's not how important it is. We already know why it's important. Why do you think there's so many people here tonight?
I think people care what's going on, and that's what people hear.
Thank you. Mr. Pike.
I agree with my buddy Jack.
You're gonna have to start the timer. Mr. Smallwood.
Yeah, I think people are upset. People are finally starting to get upset with how their money's being spent and what they believe is going on. So they're actually starting to take an interest instead of, like someone mentioned earlier, complaining on Facebook. And now they're actually trying to make a difference, and I think it's great. Thank you.
This is a caring community among caring communities, and I remember it was a pretty good turnout last year as well. And I would like to add that one of the assets that get overlooked are your children. When they get out of school, they don't get on 16 and go to Conway or south to Portsmouth. So I think you're here because we've all come out of the fog of COVID, and more and more people are coming out. Let's pick it up, let's build up, not tear it down.
Thank you. Mrs. Sheckler.
I think people are interested in being engaged in the community. You're here the same reason why I'm here, to do something, to be part of the solution instead of just complaining about it.
Mr. Doyle.
Great question. I feel that there's a lot more people that are finally getting out and seeing, and they want to change, either stay the same or to change to a newer path or whatever along that line. I really think that people are looking for some guidance or straightening to get this town where they feel the town should be. Not one individual, but the town as a community.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander.
Yes, well, I think taxes, I hear it a lot from people, they're worried. I think there's competing interests and values. I think people want to be heard because their values and interests are not being spoken up very loudly. And I think there's a concern for the future. What happens today is going to define the future that your children will grow up in. And I hear and I see people's concern.
Thank you. Mr. Tyler.
Yeah, I think they see people have concerns, not necessarily all the same concerns. Some people might have concerns about, low-income housing. Other people may have concerns about their taxes going up. But basically, people have concerns, and they may not be the same ones. But that's why I think people have turned out.
Ms. Fernandez.
So I'm fairly new here, but I know I'm on all the Facebook pages, and I think the most thing I've seen is people don't want this to be a pass-through town. I've seen that a lot posted on the Facebook pages. So I think people are here tonight because they really want change. They want to see how Ossipee can be valuable again. Rather than people just driving through, they want to see how we can make this a place to really stop. So I think that's why people are here tonight.
Mr. Billings.
I feel that people want to be more informed of each candidate's qualifications and how they answer questions. Shows a lot about their character or something.
Thank you. Mr. Pease.
Thanks for the question. I think there's a lot of people here tonight, honestly, because there's 7 selectmen candidates, a handful of school board candidates. More people have moved to the area, and, not to be pedantic, but the weather is really nice. If it wasn't as nice, half these people wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to top that. I believe everybody here wants to be here so they can find out what's going on. They want to find out who these people are that are going to be, put in a position of making decisions for the town, or making decisions for them, where they're going to be. And I feel like a lot of people probably felt like they weren't involved enough. And I do agree, there's 7 people up here running for selectmen, so that is a big thing. But I also will say, this is great. I love all these people showing up to these meetings, so the more for me, the better. I don't know how else to answer that.
Mr. Deegan.
I think we're all going to say pretty much the same thing. That when I look out over the sea of your faces, I see a lot of faces that come to a lot of things, and then I see new faces. So I think that we've had an influx in the town. We have new people there. And I think let's say they come from a big city, it's not as easy to get involved in what's going on with government in a big city. You now come to a smaller fishbowl, and it's easier to get involved. So I'd like to think that's why we're seeing people there too.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
I've never seen so many people in one of these places like this before, and I've been to a lot of these over the years. And I'm glad y'all showed up. I think several reasons people are here. One, there is 7 selectmen, a bunch of other people are running. I think when they opened the tax bill, they all had heart attacks. And I think they're worried about their schools. And there was something else I was going to mention, but I think basically they're worried about what's going on, the zoning change and stuff they don't understand. So they're worried about a lot of things in town. I do believe that's why they show up and take care, and they got a shell shock a little bit this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a big factor to the large turnout is there's 27 people on this ballot. I have never seen that many people running for various positions ever. And secondly, I think people deep down care. Most people are good, they have a caring heart, and they really want to know what's going on, and I appreciate everyone coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
My first thought was nobody was here. I'm from southern New Hampshire, and when I walked in, I was like, wow, nobody's here. To me, this isn't a lot of people. I come from Danville. It really isn't to me. I don't know what you're used to. I've never served this town. If you follow election cycles over, say, a period of 20 years, which I have, things spike up and down. You go through periods of stagnation, then there's important issues, or critical issues, the things to get people to come out and get involved, attend meetings, and run for a position on a board or volunteer. That's generally how it goes. You follow that cycle, it's up and down. It's kind of like the pendulum of law swings back and forth. That's all I have.
Mrs. Doyle?
Well, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of growth. I think people are interested. There's been more activity on social media, not that I always agree with it, but there's a lot of talk. There's, and there was a lot of change with, money and taxes and fees and everything else. And people want to sit up and take notice. And also, again, we'll have selectmen running, and this is a big, huge change. And it's inspiring to see, how diversified everything is here. And I'm glad people are showing up, larger groups than other at the town meeting. Budget meeting and selectmen's meeting is probably, 5, 6, but yet they'll complain on Facebook about it. So doing your homework, which is fantastic, looking everything up on the website and asking questions, this is refreshing. And I think people, I'm hoping that, people will, learn, be educational for you, and it's wonderful.
Thank you. It is 8:33. We will take a few more questions, George, and after that we will do a closing statement from everybody. George is up.
I am George Short. Thank all the candidates. I've got a tough question for you here. I get the advantage that the state of New Hampshire Constitution. This is the constitutional question. We are a sovereign constitutional republic, and all you candidates are going to take an oath, one or two of you, take this elected position. And your duties are to protect the rights, of the people of Ossipee, New Hampshire. What I'm going to ask you is, could you, or any one of you, please, any of the selectmen, verbatimly tell us in Article 2 of the New Hampshire Constitution should be verbatimly telling what Article 2 is in the New Hampshire Constitution. Because I think it's your duty as representatives to know the Constitution. Because I'm going to make a point by Lincoln. Lincoln said, study the Constitution. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislatures, and enforced in courts of justice. But I'm going to do you a favor, because I have an advantage. I have the book. What the Second Amendment says in Article 2. All men have certain natural, essential, and inherent rights, among which are the enjoying and defending life, liberty, and acquiring, possessing, and protecting properties. And in a word, of seeking and obtaining happiness. These are our substantive rights. We are private civilians, you know. And what I'm asking you, the candidates, when you take that oath, are you going to uphold people's properties, their rights, everything about people? Because what is problem in this world is our Constitution has, you know, been thrown in the ground and it's, you know, destroyed the word of the Constitution. And it's the only thing that protects our rights. It doesn't give us rights. It protects our rights. And as candidates, I feel that, you know, you guys are obligated to know this. You know, for you to be qualified to be a candidate, you should know our rights. Because you are our representatives and we look to you for help. Because you're going to be our public servants. And I want to thank you.
George.
Tough question. You really don't have to answer, but you can look it up.
I just want to clarify, it was rhetorical because you read it to us. Okay, thank you. Do any of the selectmen candidates want to respond? If everybody would like to respond, we'll go in order. We'll start with Mr. Keys.
Thank you, George. I will learn it if I get elected.
Thank you. Mrs. Doyle.
Thank you. I know a few of the rights. I know this, Second Amendment right for bear arms, and I know our Fourth for protecting our property, and I kind of understand where you're coming from with that. But again, I would have to sit down and look again and refresh my history days from school and remember. And I guess sometimes, unless it's affecting you personally, and you ultimately want to back, your rights, that's when you really get passionate about upholding your rights. And once, you claim that, and we all understand that, it should be respected. And I believe just the same as with a doctor that has, makes the oath, to save lives and do the best that he can, that would be pretty much the same thing that we'd have to do if we were, elected as selectmen, as a government, official, is to know that and respect it as best we can.
Right.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy.
Definitely support the Second Amendment. As far as reciting from memory, I don't think you can expect anybody up here to recite that from memory. Over the years, we have resources, there's law books, things like that, Attorney General's manual, but if you're going to bring an argument based on the Second Amendment or whatever, you'd have to cite that argument so we could go to our resources and see if we are violating, your rights or not. If we are, then certainly, we take the appropriate action. But to try and remember all these laws, there's no attorney in the world who knows every law. That's why they make law books. That's why there's an Attorney General's manual and all that good stuff. So we have the resources we need.
Thank you. Jonathan?
So the Constitution is first and foremost, I think, for any person that takes the oath. The oath comes from the New Hampshire State Constitution, Part 2, Article 84. If you have a chance, look up Part 2, Article 84. That is where the oath of office comes from for us elected officials. And part of that says to uphold the rules and laws of the Constitution, which is the state, and the rules and authority of that state. I'm paraphrasing there. I think I got one of the words back. But needless to say, this is a municipal corporation governed by the Constitution. What does that mean? The Constitution is precedent, but the municipal corporation is where the rules that govern your daily life, whether we like it or not, that's where it comes from. And those are set by the state legislature, who are elected by the people, which is you.
Can I disagree about that? He's talking about a corporation. We're a de jure country. We're supposed to be a de jure country. He's talking that we're not a de jure country. He's talking like we're a de facto government. And corporation stands for what? courts. Corporation is what, the United States corporation? You're telling us legislation and administrative can tell the people, we the people, what to do? How can legislation tell us what to do? They have no authority. Under Article 3, Section 2, subsection 1 of the Constitution, does anybody know that?
You'd have to bring the book.
Judicial powers.
You'd have to bring the book down for me to read it.
Judicial powers.
Let's let
You know-
Jonathan clarify what he's referring to.
But he's just talking about a corporation. As a corporation, I'm not going to say we listen to Walmart.
Well, let's,
It's a Walmart. It's no different than a Walmart. Look at Article 3, Section 2, subsection 1. It says the judicial powers extended to law and equity, which arise under the Constitution of the United States of America, which is what? Power to the people. Not what corporation. Corporation is China owns us already. China already owns us. So you want to keep giving more power to the corporation?
John.
Having a meeting tonight. We, the people, are having a meeting.
Yeah, and you're talking to Walmart and Kmart.
We're talking to you.
People, you don't know.
Bob.
But it's not your fault. Anybody's blind.
George.
Start to wake up.
George.
The people are starting to wake up. What I'm here to do is make
I'm
people wake up.
banging the gavel so that we can finish responding to your comment. So let us finish, okay? Thank you. Jonathan?
So I respect Mr. Doerr's opinion, as obviously knowledgeable on parts of the Constitution, but
Not understanding it's a fact.
I respect his facts. But the bottom line is, whether we like it or not, I spent time in Concord, not much different than Washington DC. This is a municipal corporation. We sign documents all the time that are municipal corporation. The town operates as a municipal corporation. That's the reality of it. I can't say it any more firmly than that.
Okay. Mr. Barron, do you want to respond?
Yeah, I'll respond. I've had with all the people over the years. I've been, like I said, planning board 17 years. My opinion, every time we try to pass a new rule, somebody else lost their rights because somebody else didn't want something in their backyard. And I've never been in favor of that. I kind of agree with my old man who passed away several years ago. If you don't like it, buy the property, otherwise shut up, because they own the property. But we do need some rules and regulations, obviously, to survive. I'm a firm believer in the Constitution. Those who know me very well know I do carry quite often. I still keep a concealed permit up for the most part, even though we have an open carry law now. I hunt, I used to hunt, I haven't had much time in the last few years. And I'm a firm believer in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights.
Joe?
So part of what you just read is from, it's from New Hampshire, it's from New Hampshire,
Yes.
Constitution, the Constitution, but those words also come from the Declaration of Independence. So when I get appointed to a board, or I get elected into a position, I take that oath and I take that seriously. I take everything seriously, and that it is to protect our rights.
Thanks, Joe. Dallas?
Well, this is a hard one, because I believe in the Bill of Rights, and I believe that the Constitution is dead. The Constitution was killed a long time ago. We don't have constitutions until we have a Bill of Rights, but we have a corporation that tells us what to do. Absolutely. Do you want to change it? I don't think anybody in this room wants to change it. I think everybody likes it just the way it is. Most people anyway, because we've gone down a path of socialism in this country. We're all socialists. And to me, socialism is more communism than anything. But that being said, if you really want to stand up for any constitutional right, you got to start with the Bill of Rights, and go from there. I just don't believe we have a constitution. COVID definitely squashed the Constitution in this country. COVID was an absolute disgrace. What a disgrace to the people. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. I'll follow the rules. I'll take the pledge to the state. The state also says we also have to follow the United States Constitution because they agreed to it. They also agreed to a bunch of UCC codes, but they don't follow those either. So it is what it is. The state doesn't follow the law. I've pointed this out for years now. They want me to follow the law all the time, but they don't. So I'm not exactly sure how to answer George's question there. I will do what needs to be done as legally, without getting myself thrown in jail for something.
Thanks, Dallas. All right, we have now concluded the question and answer period of this evening. We do have time, though, for our closing remarks. We began the night at this end of the table, so at the end we will begin at this end. I do have a statement to read on the Governor Wentworth ballot. The candidate for school moderator is Caitlin Murphy. She was not able to be here with us tonight, and she left this to be read. I apologize that I'm not able to attend tonight's event in person. I'm hoping to continue to serve as your school board moderator as a former high school math teacher who appreciates the vital importance for all students to receive a strong education matched with community support and understanding. I appreciate your consideration and hope you vote for me. And that's from Caitlin Murphy. She's running for school board moderator. So in the format, we do a 1-minute closing statement. I won't give you time because I don't want to interrupt you. I'll just say time when the minute is over. All right, Mr. Widmer, you're up.
Okay, first I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I also appreciate your support over the last 30 years to allow me to serve the school board district. I think it's important to build those relationships, and I ask for your support for another 3 years as we have the strategic plan being brought forward and very important negotiations over the next 2.5 to 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pike.
My motto is rewind forward. Right back to add, subtract, multiply, and divide on a piece of paper with a pencil. No Chromebook, no phone, no calculator. Learn to read a simple document and use a dictionary. We're graduating kids from high school that can't do that. You can't read a tape measure, they can't read a clock if it's not digital, they certainly can't divide by 2 without a device. Until we can do that, we've got problems. The next thing we need to do, which will help us, is to reinstitute meaningful discipline in the schools. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smolich.
So first off, I just want to thank everyone for being here. And I read somewhere that if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. I can only offer you a few things, and one of those things is integrity. I do what's right when no one is watching, because that's just the right thing to do. And so I'd like to piggyback off George there. I don't know the Second Amendment to the New Hampshire Constitution, but I do believe that as an elected official, we have one job and one job only, and that is to serve the people. So that's just where I'm at. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Shore.
When I was touring Ossipee School, and the incredible teachers, the magnificent Mrs. Fournier, what I remember was meeting a teacher who was a student at that school. Her supervisory teacher was her personal teacher when she was in elementary school. I think that speaks a lot to this town. I appreciate everybody. I love coming to this town. I've been here with ham radio, and I've already noticed some of our ham radio buddies. We lost Larry's already. So Ossipee's got a lot going for it. Obviously, this is you have so much you can build upon, and I'm excited for you. And in the last, I think 2 weeks, I've been to Hobbs for a hamburger and the station for the best hammock around. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Sharpless.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and for inviting us to speak to you. When I was in the 6th grade, I came to Ossipee from Nature's Classroom, and I'm pretty sure that's why I ended up being a New Hampshire resident to this day. You have a beautiful community, and I look forward to serving you on your school board and making sure it's an experience for your children as good as it should be for mine. I look forward to working with all of you.
Mr. Doyle.
I personally like to thank everybody that came out here tonight. This was amazing to see so many people willing to sit here and listen to us speak. I know that I'm new to the area, but my love and passion for this town is grown And as a firefighter for 33 and a half years, I will put 110% behind everything I do. And I've always done that in my career, and I have no problem doing that. So if elected, I will put 110% behind what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander?
Yes, so, I'm a New Hampshire native, and I came up to the lake since I was like tiny, like every summer, so we lived up here. And so I do have an appreciation for it. I do have a background on zoning boards. I was on the committee for negotiating contracts in my former town. And I think I'd like to see an Ossipee plan that benefits everyone. Every single person should benefit from the future that we're planning now. If you have any questions, my email is myossipee@gmail.com. I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but sure, email me if you have any other questions. I'll even stay after if you'd like.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tyler?
I'd just like to say thank you for coming and giving us the opportunity to speak with you. If you have any questions, too late. But I'd also like to thank the moderator for keeping things on track.
Thank you. Mrs. Fernandez?
I just want to say thank you. I know I'm new here in town, but I love what I do. I'm a numbers dork. I've been an accountant my whole life. And I've always loved doing nonprofit and working for small businesses. So I think this is an opportunity for me to be able to give back, where I can. I'm excited about that. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Billings?
I'd like to return to the planning board, and I'd also like to stay on trustee of trust funds. I've enjoyed it. I've always followed every RSA and every child bylaw that we made. And I hope that you and your neighbors come out next Tuesday. Thank you.
Mr. Keys?
I want to thank our moderator, Katie, and Kelly Skehan for putting this on and inviting us here. Many of our past community leaders are sadly aging or retiring, and now is probably the time to set the stage for a younger generation of servant leaders that can take on the challenges of running our town efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
Mr. Emery?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Quite the crowd. It's starting to thin out a little bit. You guys survived to the end. I think that I would make a very good selectman. I know a lot about it. I don't know if I'd be perfect. I don't know if anybody would be. I think I could work with whoever gets selected for the 3-year seat very well. But once again, it's up to you people, and I'm still running for zoning board if you don't want me for selectmen.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks.
Mr. Deacon?
I believe that I bring a unique perspective to the Selectman's office, because I do believe that the town municipality is a service business. I come from the service business side of life. So I think it's important for that to happen. I think there's room for improvement. I'd like to see it happen, and I'd like to see that anybody that comes into the town, resident, business looking to come into the town, have good experience when they're working with the folks like zoning or planning or whatever. I'd like everybody to have a good experience whenever they have to work with the town.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
I grew up in Farmington, New Hampshire, graduated in '76. Tried to find work in this area, and there was no work because the highway had come through about 10 years before and killed the area. I ended up logging in Maine for 20 years. I raised 4-step children in Maine, came back to New Hampshire 25 years ago this coming April. My family's had land here since 1905. And I stayed in Ossipee because I've always loved it. It's been my favorite town since I can remember. and I think I have a lot to offer the town. I've been planning board, like I said, about 17 years, ZBA for 7 years. I think I still have a lot to offer. I think the gentleman up there called me old.
29, right?
30. I'll admit to 30. That's why I got no gray hair.
Thanks, Roy. Mr. Smith?
Just want to thank everyone for coming. This is an incredible turnout. I think it was a raving success. Everyone should have a brief closing statement in the packet that I handed out. I'm going to read it. It's quick and short. Our town has made significant strides in the past 4 years. Despite facing considerable challenges and encountering various viewpoints, we have consistently overcome adversity. Effective governance demands discipline and willingness to engage in dialogue. It requires making tough choices that prioritize the majority over individual interests. Corruption impedes progress, but I stand firmly against it. I am the barrier against corruption. I am committed to upholding integrity, and I make this pledge to you. I will listen attentively, even if we may not always see eye to eye. My responses may not always be what you want to hear, but I will always adhere to the law and prioritize the well-being of the majority of our town residents in all my actions. I ask for your vote, and I kindly ask that you vote for Brian Keyes for the 2-year term. He is a man of integrity. Thank you.
Look at that, right on the timer went off. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, thanks for coming, folks. It's no secret there's a significant lack of volunteers for board positions here. Unfortunately, like a choice of their own, some of these guys serve in numerous capacities for the town. And I just think it's a little too much. But with that said, it's my belief that Ossipee deserves a selectman who is solely dedicated to the duties of that office. I have the time, I have the skill set, and the ambition to take on that role. If elected, I can assure you that my decisions will be based on what's in the best interest of the town and the taxpayer. I have a proven track record of leadership, honesty, integrity, and most importantly, public service, 25 years. It's for the reasons listed above that I humbly ask you for your support on March 12th. Now here in front of me, I have a packet with all the documentation supporting my resume if anybody wants to take a look. Everything's right here. If you do take a look, I do want them back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Doyle, last but not least.
Okay, thank you. I do want to thank everybody. It's so refreshing to see this many people come out, educate themselves, be informed. And my primary goal to be a selectman would be to prioritize fiscal responsibility and embrace transparency between the town and the residents. That's my biggest, concern in a nutshell. And by educating, experience, as a team leader, I think I would be refreshingly new to the board, and it would be educational for myself and as with the public into learning and to listening. And I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you. And of course, I am Katie, your moderator. I am also up for re-election. Anybody ever wants to learn how to do this, you come see me. I'll teach you. So voting is Tuesday, March 12th, next Tuesday in town, and that's going to be to vote on all of our school board candidates and the warrant articles for the school. And then, of course, we have our zoning warrant articles and our candidates for the town on Tuesday, March 12th. And then Wednesday, March 13th at 6:30, right back here to do all of our town warrant articles. Please, if you're here, please bring your friends to all of those. All right, thank you so much. This was a successful evening. I appreciate you all. Thank you.